Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Tonight's February 18th, 2015. It's a regular board meeting of the Lambertville Unified School Board. At this time, if you please silence your cell phones and stand for Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Roll call.
Matthew Balzerini.
Here.
Colin Clements.
Here.
Sharon Lampel.
Here.
Shane Nielsen.
Here.
David Pombo.
Here.
Pasa Pungchai.
I heard you. Approval and/or corrections. We have one addition to the agenda, discussion item. Will be item C and a discussion regarding the TB policy.
I move we approve the amended board policy, or excuse me, I move we approve the amended agenda.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment? Anyone has any comment for anything that's not on the agenda? Okay, hearing none. Recognition. Item A is the California Association of Teachers of English Writing Contest. Mr. Yeager, you have a presentation to make?
Okay, members of the board, thank you very much. And it is my distinct pleasure to stand before you this evening and recognize some of our outstanding students. There were actually 4 who were presented with Writer of Distinction Awards for this county writing contest. And it is, we have 2 of them here this evening. Hopefully the other 2 will appear before we conclude. But I would like to begin first by recognizing one of our teachers who helped to encourage this event and get the students together and encourage them to participate in the contest. She could not be here this evening, but I do want to recognize her, and we do have a certificate for her on behalf of the district. Frances Chamberlain, our 7th and 8th grade English teacher. So I'd like to give her a round of applause.
Mr. Yeager? Mr. Yeager, before you introduce, we'll go ahead and come down.
Oh, okay, perfect, perfect. Okay. Okay, so our first student, this is the 5th, 6th grade division. Writer of Distinction Award goes to Satyasri Sanjiapalli. And I'd also like to mention that Sati, as she goes by, was also our representative in the county spelling bee. She was our lower division champion for the district, so quite a talented individual. Next student brings me pleasure. This is the 7th and 8th grade division, Caitlin Fay, also with the Writer of Distinction Award. And our other 2 students who are not here this evening, but I still want to recognize them. We have Kayla Michelle Beamiller, Division 5th and 6th grade. And finally, 7th and 8th grade division as well, Seema Sheikh. Very proud of my students and my team, so great job, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yeager. Consent items for consideration. We have the approval of governing board meeting minutes for the regular meeting, February 4th, the warrants, acceptance of retirement of Priscilla Cooper, teacher, effective 2/1/15. There's 3 new hires, and then approval of a K-8 basketball coaches for the 2014-15 school year, and acceptance of donations. 1 is for Wickland Science Olympiad, $100 donation from Trang Hong, and 2 is Fuel Up to place 60 grant in the amount of $1,297 for fitness at Cuesta Elementary School. We can approve all as one, or if you'd like to take anything off for discussion.
I'll move for approval of all consent items as presented.
Second.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. There is, in regards to the minutes, there were some changes that were,
That's right.
have already been made, so this would be as amended. And the changes are here before you.
I'll amend my motion to approve the consent items with the amended minutes.
Second.
Any further discussion? I just wanted to acknowledge our retirement. Priscilla Cooper, she's been with the district for, anybody know how long?
20 years, I believe.
Longtime teacher. Yeah, it's a longtime teacher. He's
Wow.
been over there for a long time, so. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. District administrative reports, superintendent's report.
First, I'd like to take an opportunity, Mr. President, to invite all of our board members. There's been a California Teachers Association dinner announced on Thursday, March 5th, 2015, for interested parties. If you're interested in attending, you can let Noelle know and she can give you the information. Second of all, today we had our third district luncheon, kind of luncheon with the superintendent, joined by our board president, Mr. Balzerini, and attended by Trustee Pombo. We had 3 topics at hand for the event. First of all, it was catered by our own food service folks, and we had burritos in a bowl, and they were rather tasty, so good job, Bernie and her team. We talked about 3 things. We had the Art on Wheels team from Wickland bring forward to all of the foundation boosters, PTA representatives, and give good ideas that good projects being done in the district in terms of supporting arts in our schools. The second thing we did was we had Padu Balamini and his colleague present the app to the parents and have them upload the app and start to play with that. We're going to start launching that by school site starting next week, getting people to upload, getting into the information and the like. And that should coincide with the new website, which in any day now will be out there in live to our community. And then finally, we presented some information that was tied to the district strategic plan and a general explanation of LCAP version 1.0, the LCFF funding model, and MAP results data that I'll be presenting here in a moment to give them a general understanding of the state of the district and where we're at with the implementation of our program. So that leads to the presentation tonight. It's very brief. I'm just going to cover a couple of key points for our community and our board. So it's called the LUSD Strategic Plan and the Mid-Year MAP Results. So in December of 2013, this body adopted a strategic plan based on 5 areas of concentration. The areas of concentrations are where the district's work priorities are: student achievement, district culture and leadership, fiscal strength, parent and community relations, 21st century skills, and college and career readiness. And within that strategic plan were a set of measurables, benchmarks, if you will, along the way to see if our kids were growing academically as we rolled out the provisions within each of those areas of concentration. We also identified any subgroups of students that whose scores showed to be lower than other subgroups in our district, and those subgroups were made up of low-income, Hispanic, African American, English learners, and special education students. So we did that in preparation for the transition to the Common Core, or the Smarter Balance Assessment Consortium, better known as SBAC, and the new state assessment known as CASP. The part I'm going to emphasize here is there's a lot of changes in public education. one of the components of which is a computer adaptive test component. We have adopted, this board and our community have been experiencing measures of academic progress, which is a computer adaptive test. All of our K through 8th grade students have taken this test now 5 times and are accustomed to how the program works and the data that comes from it. So we know that with the new state assessment coming up, that the inaugural assessment is going to open the window of April 15th, and our students are going to take a new state assessment. January 29th, the state released interim assessments, which gave us some practice tests and rubrics that go along with writing components. So as the state rolls it out, we make adjustments to the program. But all of this is new. So the one thing, the one standard, the one piece of data that we've had consistent for the last 2 years is our MAP results. So what I'm going to present to you now is our district-wide big picture look at how the 1, 4, 8, 12 focus areas are doing for our kids based on measures of academic progress. So I'm going to go to this screen over here. So remember, it's a 1st grade, a 4th grade, and 8th grade look at data. This bar here represents the end of the year goal. This year represents the mid-year goal. This is where this yellow line represents where the students were at the beginning of the year, and the red line represents their growth in the area of reading for 1st grade students in the district. So what you can see here in our focus benchmark for our strategic plan is that all of our schools and our district have shown growth, most of which have exceeded the mid-year growth target. Same thing, same look with the 4th grade reading data. End of the year goal, mid-year goal. Beginning of the year is light yellow. End of the year is red, or I'm sorry, mid-year is red. And as you can see that all but one of our schools have exceeded the mid-year target as a group. When you look at 8th grade math, you have end of the year norm in MAP, the old model in the California Standards Test for end of the year proficient and advanced, where the students were at the beginning year, and where they're at in the mid-year. And as you can see in each of our schools and as a district, each of the areas have grown. So this is the focus area part where we talk about statistically significant subgroups: African American, Hispanic, English learner, low income, and special education students. So in 5th grade reading and our mid-year map, the purple or blue line represents where the kids were at the beginning of the year and where they're at the mid-year. And you see significant growth for our African American subgroup, our Hispanic subgroup, our English learner group, our low income group, and our special education students in 1st grade reading. Same with 4th grade. African American growth in reading, Hispanic growth in reading, English learner growth in reading, low income growth in reading, and special education growth in reading. And finally, with the subgroup look and our focus areas, you have 8th grade math, and you have growth in African American 8th grade math, English learners, low income, and special education students. 2 areas where we didn't show significant growth were in low income 8th grade math and special education 8th grade. So that's an area for discussion for the district, but with the exception of those 2, we met all of the targets in terms of showing growth. If you look across the district by grade level, you can see the beginning of the year is green, the middle of the year is red, the end of the year is blue. This is for reading. These are the grade levels. And in each grade level, you see growth from the beginning of the year, and in some instances, we've already exceeded the target for the end of the year for district-wide grade levels. And the same for math. You're going to see green in the beginning of the year, red is mid-year, blue is the goal for the end of the year, and in each case, you see the red bar either well on its way to meeting the end of the year target or exceeding the target by mid-year. So based on the measurables in our strategic plan, based on a big picture macro study, we can say that there's growth in every school in the benchmark areas. There's growth in all of our statistically significant subgroups that are focus areas, with the exception of 8th grade SPED and low income students. And across grade levels, you can say that our reading scores are up and on target, and our math scores are up and on target. And that is a brief, very brief overview of the MAP data that just came in, but it's a big picture snapshot. Go ahead.
Any questions from the board?
I apologize. Can you go back to the one slide where one group had actually deteriorated. I didn't,
So for students that are classified as low income in 8th grade, their beginning of the year is 230, and as a whole group, and it dropped down 1 point at mid-year to 229. For special education students, the beginning of the year was 213, and it dropped to 206. So in 8th grade math, where these kids are at their school sites, we need to ask the question, was there something that happened with our students identified in 8th grade math and low income where they dropped? Was there a distraction? Was there a problem with a particular set of concepts? What was going on there? And how are we going to catch them up and move them towards the end of the year target, which is 235? So what this data does is it gives you a snapshot of where we stand in terms of all the kids who fall into these categories.
okay, then my last question, and just forgive me because I don't know, is a difference of 230 to 229 statistically significant, or the testing, that could be a variable in the testing?
What it basically says is they didn't grow. I mean, dropping 1 point or growing 1 point is kind of flat.
So it's not that
It's
they
a flat.
dropped, it's just that they didn't progress like we
Right.
would like to see towards the goal.
Correct.
Okay.
And we also have to keep in mind, they're already so close to the end of the year goal, which is an important piece of information as we're looking at these and where we want our students to be at the end of the year.
Also, in a small sampling, one student coming in or one student leaving.
Make a
could
huge
skew the whole-
difference. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So all factors have to be considered. If you have a group of 100 kids and it drops significantly, then that's one question. If you have a school site that loses 3 kids and they all are high performing and there's only 20 kids in the pool, it's going to make a significant shift. The idea, though, is it gives us a snapshot of a large number of kids. So, you have 3,000 kids in our K-8 program, all of whom are taking this test. So you're getting specific subcategory looks and grade level looks based on specific skills that are standardized. So it starts the conversation. The other thing I would say is, if you're interested in your school site map results, sit down with your principal and your assistant principal, because they have the same story based on grade levels, and they can go down deeper as well. So we could start a very common conversation about these particular sets of data.
So to piggyback on what Board Member Clements brought up, are we taking a closer look at the special ed students and why there's a bit of a decline there. And I do understand the barriers to academic growth, but that's a bit of a drop.
It is a bit of a drop, and it's also interesting that at the 4th and 1st grade levels, if you look, there's big growth. So the question is we have an improvement
happened in
plan.
that?
The
Well,
board
it's
has given
8th grade.
direction. Maybe it's the longer they've been in the system, it's harder to move an 8th grade special ed kid or whatever, but we have to sit and have that conversation. So good things are happening, but 8th grade, there's a question about that, no doubt.
And I would just want to add, given our focus on special ed and trying to improve that program, I might be the only board member who want to see it, but I'd like to hear specifics to this, what we're addressing within that program. Again, I know I'm putting a lot on our special ed director, but we've been paying a lot of attention to that program recently, and if I'm like you, what's the problem, what's the focus, how do we fix it, and how do we correct it, how do we address what's going on? And I would prefer to hear what that is. So, if that's okay with the board as part of one of her future presentations, I'd like to have her address that too.
Well, I also, it's very typical in 8th grade to see that kind of stuff. We were studying this in my district last night where I work, and very similar results in 8th grade. It's just the nature of the 8th grader.
Well, and it's 8th grade math. That's the concept
Getting
jump that a
hard.
lot of folks are concerned about, the algebra 2 stuff. But still,
Yeah.
it's what we have to deal with, so.
And I think 8th graders tend to check out when springtime comes a lot of times.
It's coming.
Well, it's kind of faux spring right now.
So they can faux check out, I guess.
I took a lot of tests, yes.
So that's the presentation.
Any other questions?
Well, I would like to make one comment. Unbelievable amount of kudos to our teaching staff.
Absolutely,
They're doing a
absolutely.
phenomenal job. These results, I said the 8th grade results were typical. The other results are atypical. And they're working very hard, and they're getting the results that they're striving for. So please have the administrators relay some kudos to the teachers.
Absolutely.
Item B is the enrollment report.
We are presently at 3,532 students.
That's definitely up from last month. Item C, district maintenance and operations report. Alvina Kaiser.
I am turning it over to the Director of Maintenance and Operations, James Nolan.
Good evening. I guess this is my gopher report.
I wasn't going to say that.
I'd like to start out by reading a report that is from our contractor that we hired to control and eliminate our gophers. The gopher activity is at an all-time low and is being controlled and further eliminated. Most of the schools are at 98% controlled, meaning we will find 1 or 2 gophers each time we service. These gophers are the ones migrating from either park areas or fronts of residential properties. At this point, Wickland Elementary School is the site with the most activities. About 10 to 15 gophers are left, total. And after 2 more treatments, it should be at 90% controlled, which means about 5 gophers left. It takes 1 month after treatment to actually see progress. It has to do with how often the fields are mowed and how long it takes the gophers to become immobile. The gopher activity can build up rapidly if we don't continue to monitor all of our fields. It takes 1 to 2 seasons for the underground tunnel systems to collapse once the gopher has stopped rebuilding them. Filling in holes or floating the fields will have to be done at least once per year and at least 2 years straight. These schools are fairly new and they have to go through this process. And not having gopher services on the parks will always provide an open door for reestablishment of activity levels. I am here to serve you with the best intent and in the safest mode. That's from AMD, our Animal Damage Management Company.
So the gophers are moving to the safe communities and then coming over.
I would just like to add to this the fact that Mountain House community is surrounded by farms and open fields, not to speak of constant construction going on. I mean, this past year, we not only had gophers to deal with, but we also had raccoons and skunks on our sites that we had to get rid of. So that always adds to the fun. This coming Friday, I'm going to be walking all of the fields with Valley Crest. That's the company we have hired to fix the fields, do the repairs. I'm doing this because I want to make sure that they understand what our expectations are for the repair of these fields. We are also at the same time going to have to repair the irrigation systems at all of our schools, of course Wickland also, because as they do the repairs and do seeding and all this, we want to make sure we have moisture in order to give them a chance to grow. So we're going to be doing both of those repairs at the same time, and we expect to begin this the first week in March.
Do you have an estimate yet, or is that what you're doing right now? To get a cost estimate for?
Cost estimate?
Right.
I've already turned those in.
We have one estimate from the existing company that we use, and I know that you were waiting on a second company to provide that, but it doesn't sound like there are other vendors that are even interested in providing that. So I have a feeling we're going to be going forward with the quote that we have received, which is
Right.
through
It's
Valley
been a difficult process. We've had a number of contractors give us, well, we attempted to get quotes from them.
Exactly.
And only to find out, once they saw what we had to do, they backed out. They basically came back and said, well, we can't do it, or we don't want to do it is really what it is. And actually, which is really funny, they referred us back to the original quote, which is a company we're using now anyway. So it's been around and around. But the bottom line is that we really have to start now. We're going to be starting to use our fields very quickly, and we need to make sure that they get back into good conditions. And like they say, it's going to be a continuous. We're going to have to continually monitor. We're going to continually have to be repairing these fields in order to keep them up. Gopher control is basically gopher control. You'll never really eliminate them. You'll always have to be there, and as soon as you see them, you need to take the action to get them out because they'll take off again. And we want to stop that, and we want to continue with our service so that we can keep them at manageable levels.
If I could real quick, do we anticipate any impact on the fields with regards to usage? I mean, you mentioned we're going to need to start using them. If we're doing the significant kind of repairs I'm thinking about at Wickland, that's also a heavily used field coming up here in March with regards to facilities. Do we have any potential closure times, anything like that?
Well, that's part of my reason for my meeting with them on Friday.
Okay.
Is so not only they know
practice.
what we expect them to do, but them to tell us how long it's going to take them to do that.
Because I'm sure we already have applications for those field usages.
Oh,
And
yeah,
we
one or
might want to
two.
be alerting folks that, maybe the fields they wanted won't be available for these reasons. But if we tell them why, I'm going to guess most of the folks are going to be happy for it, so.
Alvina, can you add on the report for our next facility use committee is March 9th, which is actually before the next board meeting. So if we can get a report there and bring the cost estimates, maybe we can look finance-wise if through collection, if we could try and offset some of those costs.
Well, that would be great.
And then we'll have a report for the board on Wednesday.
I did have one question.
Certainly.
And I might have misunderstood what you were saying. First of all, thank you very much. I know this has been a big issue. My boys both played Little League, so I appreciate it. But you mentioned that you were going on a site inspection with Valley Crest to make sure they understood exactly what your expectations were, and that's great. Did they not know our expectations when they provided us with the bid, or is this like your second walkthrough with them?
This is the second quote. The original quote was done many months ago, and a couple things. We put off repairs because the population was still high. We also put things off because we needed to get a new bid. There was a change in management with the company, and what our expectations stated was not what they thought. So we had to come to agreement again and get a new estimate. And so I'm just making sure I cement everything together this coming Friday.
Understood, thank you.
Any further questions?
You mentioned the gopher control in the parks or lack thereof. Has there been any outreach to the CSD to try to get them to do some gopher control on the parks to lessen the load of, because I farm, and I know if I get rid of the squirrels on my place, if the neighbor doesn't, it's virtually a losing battle.
I
They
have
keep
no
coming
problem.
and coming.
I have no problem seeing how they are receptive to that. We're still working
Just
on
walk over there.
issues
Here.
just with.
Just give me a minute. They're in a meeting right now. I'll just walk over there. They're having a meeting about finances right now. I actually don't mind.
Trustee
Probably still
Nielsen,
public comment.
I guarantee it's-
Trustee Nielsen left the meeting at,
But I will see how receptive they are.
Thank you.
Thank you for the report.
thank you very much.
They're not even in public comment yet.
Governing board reports. Trustee Clements?
Most of my report in, I'll wait until the committee, but I did want to mention that I'm going to try to visit each site or not each site once a month, one site a month at least. I did visit Bethany Elementary and also Altamont Elementary because I work for the librarian of, or not Altamont, I'm sorry, Cuesta, because I work for the librarian and she needed some help. But I wanted to point out that in both school sites, I walked by the office just to see what would happen. And in both school sites, I was challenged. And I don't expect or want everyone to know who I am because I'm on the board. I want them to challenge me if I don't do what I'm supposed to do. But I didn't pass the office that far, okay? And so I was very impressed with both school sites. That's it for me.
Trustee Nielsen?
Mine will be less of a report and more of just a quick observation. This weekend, I had a chance to take a walk around the community and for some reason was feeling really reflective about things. And I went around the high school campus, reminding myself of 10 plus years ago what was there and what's there now. And just how, again, overwhelmed I am about where we've come as a community and where we are. But then as I was walking around the campus, I had some questions. And so I wanted to bring either to the board or as a discussion with Mr. Faubert. We've got some spots on the campus that are just kind of weeds, and I'm wondering if we couldn't find a use for those for the short term. We have an excellent culinary group that I think might be able to make use of that for things like farms, herbs. And I don't know if we're allowed to, I don't know if we can, I just was thinking, like, look at the stuff that's growing out there, and imagine we had some squash or some corn or some tomatoes, and then we could give that to our culinary arts kids and say, make something. Given the community that we're in the Central Valley, this is farm community. Those programs are huge out there, and if some of those fields are just going to sit there, why not try to find a way to make use of them for the short term, and it might turn into something the kids really enjoy. I happen to know my kids would love to do it, but it was just a thought, and you know, it's certainly not a mandate or anything like that. Just, we have so many areas that I just pointed to and said, we could do something really good there. Why not look into it?
If nothing else, we could raise gophers on them.
Maybe we could attract the gophers there, you know, put a little gopher hotel. But anyway, so like I say, not so much as a report, it's just an observation. Walking around the baseball field looked gorgeous. The soccer field and the softball field, all were being used. No one hopped any fences because there are openings in those fences, so we were good. I also did walk by the football field multiple times over the weekend. I didn't see anyone on it, so I'm hoping people are staying off of it. But just, it was walking by the baseball field and seeing a dad and his two little kids playing baseball, just playing baseball. I realized, I don't know why that made me nostalgic, but I just had to share that, so I apologize.
I'm sure we can get that on a future agenda, at least if a discussion, if nothing else. Yeah. Trustee Lampel?
Yeah, it's been a busy few weeks. So on February 9th, I went to the basketball games, and it was a lot of fun. I was so impressed with the sportsmanship of our students, and the excitement of the fans. Okay, so there may have been a fan that was rooting for the wrong team. It was very interesting to see the superintendent's son playing against our team. But the sportsmanship, the excitement, you could feel it when you entered the gym. It was a lot of fun. I was really glad I was able to get that into my schedule. On February 7th, I was able to hit the tail end of the Science Olympiad at Wickland. And the excitement of the students, and our students are growing into this program. I was there for most of the awards ceremony, and it was amazing what these kids were doing out there. The district advisory, I'll wait till committee reports. And on February 10th, I brought a group of administrators and teachers from Bay Farm Elementary and Alameda. They have recently grown to a K-8 school because Alameda is K-5, and they've K-5, and they've 1 year at a time added the middle school grades and came out to see what does an established K-8 program look like. So I'd like to thank Mrs. Wingo at Bethany, Mr. Vergara at Cuesta, and Mr. Faubert at Mountain House High School for willingly giving of their time. Those people left here, they are so excited, and they want to come back. They said, we didn't have enough time here. We have to come back and see these schools again and see the great things that are going on. So again, thank you so much to our administrators. It means a lot for me to be able to say I'm a board member in the district where our people are willing to give their time to another district so other districts can benefit from what we're doing. And then the District English Learner Advisory Committee meeting is tomorrow. So.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Pombo?
I don't really have a board report until we get to the committee reports. I did attend the Wellness Committee meeting last Tuesday and the DEC Committee meeting Wednesday, and I went to another meeting. I'm not finding it on my calendar. Go ahead.
You went to GATE last night.
Yes. For my governing board report, I attended my first CSBA Board of Directors meeting on Saturday the 7th. A lot going on, a lot of legislation issues, and the Director of Government Relations grabbed me and said that our district's going to be showcased in Sacramento, especially as far as construction funding. They're very interested in using our story for the governor. And then we had a board professional development on Sunday, which was really, really good, and I took a lot away from it, which we will be using for our workshop coming up next month. And that's all I have as far as that. Committee reports, facility use. We have our meeting coming up on the 9th. I know staff has been working diligently on signage. We'll have more report at the next meeting. Item B is District Advisory Committee, either
So, Mr. Pombo and I were both at the District Advisory Committee meeting. Was that this Monday? It was last week. Okay. It's just a lot of meetings. So I have to admit that I was a little selfish, and I took some of our ideas back to my district, and we did it last night. You can see up on the board was one of the activities that was done at the meeting. So the District Advisory Committee is a group, I have notes, to give input to the LCAP, which is our supplemental funding out of the local control funding formula. So we went through the district data that the superintendent shared with us just a few minutes ago. We saw the same data, spent a little bit more time on it, and what does it mean for our students, and what does it mean for pupil outcomes, engagement, and conditions of learning. So I think that it was a very engaged group. The presentation was fabulous, and I think the district was able to collect a lot of really good input from the people who participated. Would you like to add anything to that, Mr. Pombo?
No, I thought it was a good meeting, a lot of information, and
Okay, thank you. Item D, Gate, Arts and Music. Trustee Clements?
The committee met on yesterday, February 17th. Other than district staff, Trustee Pombo and myself, no members of the community were in attendance. The community discussed in general terms the potential plans for the music and gate programs. I'll deal with each of them briefly. In music, the district is responding to community outreach, which indicated a desire to enhance the music offerings to our students. District staff will bring forward a proposed plans for board consideration, but in general terms, the concept is to ensure that all students are exposed to music educations in grades K through 5, and that all students thereafter will have access to music education regardless of which school that they attend. Some highlights that are currently being considered are the teachers at each site will focus on choir and advanced band for their school, and that teachers at all sites will cooperate and travel together to cooperatively teach choir and beginning band. Obviously, more to follow on that. And then on the Gifted and Talented Experiences or GATE program, the discussion focused on district recommendations for how the district should identify GATE students, as well as a general outline of possible methods for integrating GATE into the units of study at the district. District staff was very well prepared. I want to give kudos to district staff and the administrators that were in attendance. They were very prepared. They even had developed interactive exercises to get the community involved in the thought process so that they can weigh in on what GATE really means for our district. We did decide as a committee to delay that until the next meeting because we didn't get attendance from the community. So once the committee has reached a consensus, district staff will bring a recommendation to the board for comment.
And I would just like to add, as a member of that committee, I was a bit disappointed that there were no members of the public at that committee, because I think it's really important for the committee to hear what the public, what parents expect of GATE and what they would like to see in a GATE program.
Is it at all possible, since we have identified GATE students, to do a blast before the next meeting to the GATE students' parents, emails, phones, something like that? Because, I don't know, not for naught, yes, it would be nice if they all checked the district website and read the district newsletters and everything like that, but, this is one of the things that parents have come to us, and just that one extra opportunity to say, hey, we're having this meeting, are you interested? We do it for special ed, right, if we're going to have a special ed meeting, so I don't see why we couldn't do it on the other side.
We could do that.
And then if they don't come still, then.
Okay, and actually, I'm sorry, I skipped the DLAC, so the DLAC committee, that's tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yeah.
So, very
At 6:30 at Altamont School Library.
And I just have to say that the outreach for DLAC's been awesome. I've calls and emails, and we're trying. I assure you that. Item E is the Safety Committee. We had a meeting today. Dr. Gale introduced a member of the public that's now in the committee. We're talking equipment for the schools, and we're still working on the annual handbook, which will be coming to the board shortly. And item F is Wellness Committee.
We met last Wednesday, the 11th. We discussed the implementation of the caught eating right, which I mentioned in my last committee report. We've got boxes that each school site has received and tickets to hand out to the kids who are caught eating fruits and vegetables. We also discussed the possibility of having the farmers market again at our campuses this year. It seemed to be a big hit. Also, the possibility that we may try to elicit local participation from growers or farmers market participants to possibly augment the farmers markets in the future. And we're also working on the district wellness plan that we're updating as we do each year.
Very good. I just want to thank the board for the reports. I know it's new, and I really appreciate it. I think it's helping us get information out what's going on within the district. Action items.
I think that was a great suggestion, by the way.
Thank you. Action items, item A, consider approval of new unrepresented and management job descriptions. Staff report.
We are recommending that these two job descriptions move forward with board approval so we can begin the hiring process.
Board discussion.
Just as a point for me, I have a bit of a concern on my end of things, combining instruction assessment and technology integration into a position. I feel like it might be complicated to find someone well-versed in public education and instructions and assessments and testing, and then also have the IT background to be able to look at the complicated systems that we have at Mountain House High School, and we're trying to integrate downwardly into our schools. Granted, I don't know that we're big enough to have a true director of technology yet, but I worry that we're giving short shrift to technology, but we're also focusing so much on it. And I worry that not paying attention to that while this is all being built could create infrastructure problems for us down the road. Now, again, we may not have a choice, but.
So just point of clarification. So the technology integration is instructional technology integration, and separating from entry points and switches and the infrastructure piece. This position wouldn't they would maybe be part of meetings. This is about an infusion of 1,100 Chromebooks into the classrooms and providing support to teachers on how to use them from the basics to how to create a mini lab to how to do a guru lesson using and that kind of thing. So the technology integration is an instructional piece, and we're separating that role, the role of what you're concerned about, because I would too would be worried about that getting confused. The idea is this is a instructional person who can provide professional development and instruction, assessment, and how to integrate that into instructional planning and technology and the instructional technology pieces that we're adding and all the stuff that's going to come down the road.
Okay, good, because as I was reading through the job description, I was like, I don't see the things in here I'm expecting for that position, so perhaps I just misunderstood. Is this a similar title then for positions in other areas? Would a layperson from the street realize this isn't what I thought it wasn't? Is what I'm wondering.
Well, I think
the first two clearly point
an
out
instructional person is going to take a look at this, and I think you have two different types. So you have the traditional person who likes books and planning and lesson plans, right? And then you have the people who are on fire about the new age in the 21st century.
Okay.
So I would predict that we would get applicants from both schools of thought. What we're looking for is somebody who can help our teachers take it to the next level. It's a support that we're trying desperately to give our teachers, but we need more support and more people to do it.
Thank you.
So it's a
You addressed my
growing
concerns.
field, usually called educational technology, but anyone in the field seeing the word integration there would understand it. Would the person on the street understand it? Probably not, but an IT tech person would. They would say, that's not what I do. just by glancing at it.
I don't know about the title, but in the job description, that's what I was wondering, because it felt a little different to me. So,
Well, I wanted to give a little input on that also. I think the job description is a little light on technology integration. There's a lot in there about assessment and instruction. I know this is brand new, so I'm willing to sit with it as it is. We just need to keep in mind that in a year or maybe a little more, we might need to adjust the job description because I don't think the ed tech piece is heavy enough in there. And on both of these job descriptions, there's a 40-pound lifting minimum, and I think that's unreasonable. And most job descriptions that I've seen that don't have anything to do with maintenance or food service and stuff like that, it's 25. You could have someone that would be fabulous for this position with a bad back. They can't lift 40 pounds. So I would suggest changing that to 25 pounds.
So the recommendation is to make an adjustment to the description and just lower 40 pounds to 25 pounds.
Yes.
I can support that.
Is that in the form of a motion?
Are we doing them one at a time or both of them together?
Both together?
Well, I don't know if anyone has anything to say about the second one.
To approve the new unrepresented and management job descriptions as amended.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, consider approval of change order number 8 for Mountain House High School. Staff report?
So this is another part of the Turner deal where a credit to the agreement was given back to the district in the around $33,000. It was a markup that was at the beginning for subcontractors that was not used. So we have to formally, through the accounting process, acknowledge it here.
I move we approve change order number 8 for Mountain House High School.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Just to clarify, this is them returning 33,000 of unspent funds.
It's going to be reduced off of the final contract. We haven't paid the last bill yet.
But it's coming back.
It's
whether
being
it comes-
reduced off the last bill, yes.
It's never going out, I think is a better way to put it, right? It never left us, and
At
it
a
won't be
cost.
leaving us.
Perfect.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, consider approval of updated fundraisers for Altamont Elementary School and Mountain House High School. Any staff report?
None.
I'll move to approve the fundraisers as presented.
Second?
I had a question on the Altamont fundraisers, and if I can fumble through and find the page, I will be able to explain my question better. A couple of these fundraisers are dated March 6th and March 13th, which, unless my math is faulty, have passed. Did those fundraisers?
March?
Oh. My math is?
Your math is
faulty.
wrong.
I shall
It's
withdraw
the
my
weather,
question.
Mr. Pombo. Your brain thinks it's spring.
This is true.
I'll agree with that assessment. Yes, I agree.
All right, my math has been corrected. I have no further comments.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, consider approval.
Pardon, sir?
Yes, oh, I'm
Can I
sorry.
make a comment, please, about the fundraisers? So, if you go to page 42, I'll just wait for the page turning. You'll find that one of the clubs that I represent, because I'm academics commissioner and a student board member here, is the Mandelbrot Math Club. We're very studious, and we're planning on selling you these iPhone cases, the public, for $10, and I'm just making this announcement. We've worked very hard on these, as you can see here. Can you just pass these around, sir?
Sold.
We have 3 colors, white, gray, and blue. And we've made these with the computer program that prints it out onto the 3D printer, and it's we've designed it so it's fashionable, it's strong, and it'll make sure that your phone doesn't break. The proceeds will go to our math club and help fund our competitions. We're very studious and we'll put the money to good use.
Can I get one with the horse head on it instead of saying
We have a prototype like that.
And are you warranting that? Sorry, I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I can't wait to see
appreciate
these
the,
things.
appreciate the information.
Thank you for sharing.
Item D, consider approval of CSBA 2015 delegate assembly ballots for sub-region 8A. Any staff report?
None.
And we will have to, vote on this, and we have to elect up to 2 people.
And there were only 2.
There's only 2 running.
Yeah.
But we could vote for 1 if we wanted to. I know George Neely, he's doing a great job. I don't know the other gentleman. But I'm sure he'll do just fine.
Move to approve the CSBA 2015 delegate assembly ballot for sub-region 8A for both candidates.
And I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And that will be submitted soon, tomorrow? Thank you. Information discussion items. Item A is first reading of new and updated board policies and administrative regulations. Staff report?
We have a number of items here, some of which are delete items recommended by CSBA. Others are changes recommended by CSBA. And I have 2 staff who can answer specific questions on specific items, depending on who worked on it, Alvina or Kaiser or Dr. Gill.
Any board comments?
Of course. Let me find my place. This was a lot at once. I do understand that we needed to do these because some of them reflect laws that went into effect on January 1st of this year. But whenever possible, I'd like to spread them out. Because I don't think I was able to give.
While she's looking, I have a question.
Thank you.
This is a first reading.
Correct.
And I scanned through all of them, and I read a lot of them, and then at some point I scanned. I'm assuming that an A, coming from your comment that, minor typos and stuff can be submitted in writing, I'm assuming that I can follow on with the minor stuff, because I didn't get through a detailed review of everything, but I got a conceptual review of everything.
Yes, absolutely.
It was only 160 pages of homework. I mean, really? Since Friday, right?
And,
That's a lot.
and again, this will be coming back again next month for actual approval, so.
Well, I owe it to the district, if I have typo, those comments, I owe it to the district staff to get them in, so they don't have to deal with it in the next meeting.
So on page 73, which is AR 0440, so it's 73 on the page, in case you're looking at page numbers on an electronic document. I didn't indicate in my notes exactly where, but I think we need to have a reference that the professional development based on research needs a needs assessment, including survey of staff. And if I took the time to read the whole page, I could tell you where I was reading when I thought of that, but I think through A and B.
3A talks about professional development.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone else have specifics, or should I just keep going?
You've actually passed me. I had a
Okay.
question on page 65 of the packet, 67 of the PDF. How does, and I apologize, but how does the 3-year technology plan interact with the LCAP? Is it a part of the LCAP, or is it complementary to the LCAP?
This is an Alvina question.
I was trying to find where you were reading the
there's-
3-year.
There's multiple answers to that. So the LCAP is the strategic plan in a template. So there's the Alvina component is we spending the money on the technology, so we have to explain why we're doing it and what we're getting out of it and attach it to the money. So Your question, in terms of a 3-year plan, are you saying the 3-year length of the LCAP, or are you saying a 3-year technology plan? So I need a little clarification.
Okay, so on page 65 of the packet or 67 of the PDF, hold on.
I have it the other way around. I have it 67 in my hard packet. Top of the section. CSBA's recommendation was superintendent designee shall develop for board approval
Yeah.
a comprehensive 3-year technology plan.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say, 67 of the packet, 69 of the PDF.
Because I know it
Yeah.
used to be required that you had a technology plan in place for funding. It's no longer required to have that, but it's ideal. And I know that we are currently in the process of updating our technology plan. So I would recommend continuing that process, even though it's not required.
So it's even though it's, because I read the 3-year plan and said, oh, is this LCAP? And I wasn't sure how it integrated.
separate
really,
document.
it's just separate. Okay, that's what I was asking.
So I can also say, just as a add-on is Alvina will be presenting a tech sustainability plan. That's where we posed on ourselves because we want to explain how we're going to do this and sustain it over time. So that's part of the adjustments to the tech plan. So it's essentially, we need to keep the practice going, but we need to do so because of our commitment to technology as much as meeting the provisions in the policy.
Okay, does anyone have anything before page 91?
I do. On page 77/79, so it would be 77 of the packet, 79 of the PDF, right? Compensatory education. I didn't know what that was, so I looked it up. And it's remedy owed to children with disability who have been denied a free, appropriate public education or FAPE. My question is, do any of our students have that right now?
Special ed
Title
kids.
I.
They've
Title
been
I.
denied a free, is that as bad as it?
So compensatory ed is free public education.
Not that we've
And
done
then,
it.
Oh,
It's
okay,
historically,
yeah.
okay,
yeah.
okay. I'm like, so we have students that we have denied a free and appropriate.
No,
No, just the opposite. You can't because it's compensatory.
yeah.
So you can't take a child who's low income or a child with special needs and deny them their free public education. So, and then if you accept federal dollars, then you follow their rules. If you accept state dollars, then you follow their rules.
Right, and so I think that my mistake was actually researching it on my own and trying to find the answer. Because when I researched it online, it was
Who did we deny this to?
remedy owed to children with a disability who have been denied a free and appropriate public education, and I'm like, so
Class, that group is historic.
next time I won't try to
Underserved.
educate myself. Okay.
Right, and
The-
To get the darn internet.
I think Shane put it very well. As a class, they have historically been underserved. And
Okay.
that's what that's all about.
Understood.
Yeah.
And then on the same page, the paragraph beginning with meetings of the above, it makes it sound like the committees above, which are not subject to the Brown Act, still have notice requirements. Is that true?
My understanding, they're now Brown Act meetings, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
That's the
we-
feedback we're
That's
getting.
the new, yeah. So all the committee meetings are now, if it has to do with LCAP or LCFF, they're all Brown Act meetings.
Okay, hold on, let me get there really quick. Oh, dang it. What page did I say?
77,
79, I think, on that.
79 in the PDF.
79 of the PDF. It says, in the middle of the thing, it says, meetings of the above councils or committees shall be open to the public, any member, da-da-da-da. But above it, like on the bottom of page 76 of the packet, it says the following committees are exempt from the Brown Act and must,
I think it's referring to the top of page,
oh, but must. It says but must conform. I read, when I was reading it on my own, I read that they don't have to conform, but they do. I withdraw the question. Sorry.
And by the way, this is February, not March.
Got it. So I'm not the only one?
I thought I was going to be the one to walk into it tonight. I feel good.
anything else?
Anything else before page 91? Okay, page 91, AR 4112.5, 4312.5. The paragraph on the bottom of the page, and I do understand this came as a sample from CSBA, but I don't think we want to do this. A certificated employee may be hired by the district without obtaining a criminal record summary if that employee is employed as a certificated employee in another California school district and became a permanent employee of another California school district as of October 1st, 1997. I'm not comfortable with us relying on the records of another school district.
You quote ed codes,
I
do we have
would-
an option?
Yes, we do. We can go above and beyond what's required.
Like I say, ed code may require us to accept it. If they don't, I heartily agree with you. If
Doesn't.
ed code doesn't mandate we have that inclusion,
I want us to
heartily
do
agree
our
with you.
own. Yeah,
Then
yeah.
I
But I'd like us to
100%
take it
agree.
out so we never have the option.
I agree.
I agree.
I'm fine with
We have
taking it out.
consensus, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And page 92, somewhere in there without finding it exactly, I think we should be requesting DOJ and FBI on everyone. In this section, it talks about for certificated folks, you do this, for classified folks, you do that. I feel comfortable doing DOJ and FBI on all employees.
Those are both conducted via live scan, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
I agree.
It's a few more dollars to request both, but I think we have the safety of our children in our hands, and that's important.
Not that I disagree, I just want to clarify then, will we also be requiring that of our volunteers? The volunteers have to meet the exact same requirements, do they not?
That is a good point.
So I'm not disagreeing. It is a few more dollars, but I think we need to look beyond just the employees and think about what that might mean for the members of the public as well, who've already kind of upset about just having to do the DOJ clearance now.
Is there crossover? That's a separate policy. How does this policy affect the other? Right.
What Shane is saying is currently, the requirements are the same.
Right.
And just questioning if we change for one, should we, or are we
Do we
compelled
have
to
to?
change the other?
Are we mandated to?
Yeah.
Because I would be comfortable with just a DOJ clearance on volunteers, but to do both on staff, I think, but if we're gonna require both, I'd want to make sure the public knows that's what we're considering.
We currently do just DOJ on classified and DOJ and FBI on certificated, correct?
Is that correct, Dr. Gill?
I think that's what the ed code requires.
If they're already credentialed, they have a FBI background check with CTC. So within our district, we only do DOJ unless they're a new teacher and never been credentialed before.
I don't like that.
The DOJ clearance on classified and certificate as of right now,
So we don't do FBI on anyone right now.
unless they haven't gone through any credentialing program or any county clearances, anything like that, which is not very typical. Because we usually either have people gone through a credentialing program or they have gone through the county program. We are open to your recommendation. If that's what the board would like to do, we're open to that.
I need to think about it because Shane made a really good point.
So just for clarification, so right now on page 92, there's something in here, and we want to make sure that the DOJ and FBI for all employees are done for everyone. And then the second conversation is for volunteers. Our current policy is DOJ fingerprint clearance, and the discussion is because they're doing field trips or in-class help here and there, that the bar might be a different level. And then the question is who do we in our current system get FBI clearance as well as DOJ clearance? So again, this is a first read. We can come back with a discussion
I would love
piece for
this
the
to
next
come
board
back
meeting
as a
I would
discussion.
like
and
to
kind of
have
lay
an
out, here's what we do
on this.
with bullet
I think
points
this
and
is
then.
huge,
I think some
yeah.
clarification would be helpful.
And specifically too, I mean, if we're not doing FBI clearance, but we're getting it through the credentialing the programs, what that entails, how old they are, you know, if it was just done in the last few years, those kinds of things would, I think, weigh on my decision-making process for this, yes.
Yeah, because FBI, there's no subsequent, it's only DOJ has subsequent, right?
Just options, I guess, for the board. Yep. Different options, what we can and can't do.
And I understand Dr. Gill's voice is going to come back by then, so.
Okay, and on page 94, it talks about interagency agreements. And again, I would like us to maintain our own custodian of records and have all of the records coming through us. There's too many opportunities when you have, if you have an interagency agreement for something to be mishandled. We can't be confident that another agency is handling things properly. We can only be responsible for LUSD. So I'd like to see the interagency piece come out. Not that we can't have interagency agreements, but that we still do our own fingerprinting and custodian of records. Because this custodian of records in the past few years has become a really big deal. They didn't used to have to sign off on it. Now they have to like sign away their firstborn. So,
We do have a custodian of records for all employees that we hire with us. Our custodian of records takes care of that. However, with our subs, we do have an interagency agreement with our county office of ed to send them there for that.
okay,
So we are required to send any substitute classified or certificated through there, so they're printed through the consortium. And then every county, everyone in our county are able to share those prints.
okay, so I'll change my, I forgot about subs, thank you. If we were to enter into any other interagency agreements, if that could be brought to the board first, so we could consider, yes, I trust the County Office of Education, that they're doing it right. But if anyone else were to be added in an interagency that has to do with fingerprinting, I'd like that to come to the board.
It says, subject to an interagency agreement with the other school districts. I don't think we want to do that.
Right.
We can take the word district out.
That was what I was concentrating on, exactly.
The county, we already have the agreement with, and we work with them anyway, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, thank you. No more talking. Thank you, Noel. No.
Okay.
I didn't get through all 200 pages, I have to admit. Oh, here's an easy one. What page is that? Page 112. See, we get to jump.
At least we're making some progress.
Yeah, we're making progress there. On page 112, there's a tiny little typo. I could find it. No. It's not page 112. 4118. 4118. Oh, maybe it is. Yeah.
That's a long.
Somewhere in here.
No fair,
It
you're actually
says-
saying there's a typo somewhere in here?
Wait a minute, I'll find it. There's not a lot. Just a second. I'll email it to you. It's just a typo. It has the word actions may, and the S from action is attached to may. So right now it says actions may. So it just jumped out. I'll find it. I will email someone the exact location of that. Page 120. See, jump.
Now you're making
me read and
I'm finding typos.
Yeah. Okay, the underlined paragraph that starts with any district request, in the second line, and shall specify that the report, the word "to" needs to come out, be submitted to the district, et cetera, et cetera. You find that? Okay. The word "to" doesn't belong there, that's all. The last, is it in that same paragraph? Wait, I'll find it. You know what, it's another just grammatical thing. It's a comma needs to be replaced with the word "for." I'll email it to you, I'll find it. I don't want to take up board meeting time because it's not the content. And that's all she had.
Anyone else?
No, actually Sharon had every single one of mine.
Can you believe it? She steals them every time.
I will finish reading the rest of them.
Okay, item B, Hapara dashboard.
Principal Faubert come up and talk about that.
Let me introduce it first and then, yeah. So, those of you who have students at Mountain House High School might already know a little bit about something, or if you are a student at Mountain House High School, know what Hapara is, or at least know something that we've done a little bit different at the school, and we wanted to let the board know about what that is. It's a tool that we're using to organize the Google Apps. The Google App world is big, and there's a lot of organizational skills that have to go along with that. And when teachers are interacting with 150, 160, 170 students in a day, it can be really hard to find an assignment if it gets lost in the mix. So there's no my dog ate the homework, but there's definitely that I don't know where it is on my drive kind of thing. So we're moving forward with a tool called Hapara. So we'll watch a little bit of video about it, and then I'll tell you how we're using it.
Using Google Apps for education in your classroom? Awesome. Google offers powerful, engaging tools for students. Thing is, the more you use Google as a teacher, the more content you have to manage. It can start to get overwhelming. How can you tell which students are on track and who needs help? That's where Hapara comes in. Hapara provides an education platform on top of Google Apps. We cover Docs, Sites, Blogger, Picasa, Gmail, even Google+, and class calendars. Basically, we take everything that's going on in Google, organize it, and present it back to you structured by class and by student. Teachers get an organized, snapshot view of student activity, so they can focus their attention where it is most needed to improve student outcomes. Want to see who is struggling with the assignment, or who read the homework email you sent out last night? Now you can, at a glance. On top of that, we give teachers some Google superpowers. Find docs when students forget to share them, reset student passwords, see what students are doing online on their devices remotely. And we increase online student safety by making all student interactions in Google Apps transparent. Hapara has Google-based solutions for everything from batch pushing of documents to students to formative assessment for writing. If you like Google Apps for education, we think you're going to love Hapara. Contact us for a live online demo or get started now with a pilot program of any size at your school district. Greater visibility, deeper insight, more impact, effortlessly with Hapara.
That was really quick, so I'm going to tell you a couple of things. It said batch pushing of documents to kids. What that is it's a tool that helps teachers. Typically with a Google document, you create one, you can share it with a bunch of people, but all the people are looking at the same document, and if they start typing on it, that document is one document, and everybody's typing on one. Batch pushing out documents to students means the teacher can create the document one time and push it out to every student and have a copy of that document individual for each of those students like that. The other thing a teacher can do in a classroom is if they're sitting there, and typically a lot of times teachers are saying, I need you to go to this website. It's written on the board, and it's some cryptic, really long. What a teacher can do is they can open up their class and they can type in the URL and they can open a tab in every one of their students' computers by pushing one button. It automatically opens the right screen at the right time, and it pushes it out to all the students at the same time. The part of Hapara that is a little, we heard that there is a petition going around school to ban Hapara from our school because it did allude to it in the video that teachers can see what students are on. There's a screen. I wanted to show you live, but there are no students at school right now in their system. So we have the ability to look at this both on campus and off, if students are off campus as well, because the devices that they have in their hands belong to the district. and it is covered by the acceptable use agreement. So we have not pushed that button yet. We may, but it's being piloted at the school. And so what it looks like basically is you open the screen and it gives you a list, not a picture, but a list of all of the open tabs that a student has. Because a lot of times students will have 7, 8, 9, 10 tabs open at a time. And it will show you in bold the tab that is actually active for the student. So I can sit in my office and I can click in a class and look at a whole class and see, oh, look, most of these students are on the right thing and that one's looking at a YouTube video. And what Hapara allows us to do is I can go to that student and click the little X to it and close that tab for them remotely. And then I can click on another button and send a message to the student saying, this is Mr. Faubert, please stay on task. Without ever confronting the student in front of the class with it, very slyly go ahead and, help that student stay on task. So at the school, we believe we have the mandate and the right to make sure our students are on task and that we're monitoring what they're doing in the classroom during the school day. It's amazing the amount of classroom discipline that has decreased because teachers have the ability, when students are working independently, to just really take a quick glance at their class and see what's active on everybody's screen. There is also a screen where you can get a current, not a live picture of what's actually moving on the screen, but you can get a live shot in that moment in time of what is on that student's screen. So you can do that as well. There's a lot of other different functionalities that the system has. Brian Gervas, who's our site tech person, just sent me an email this evening that there's also a parent portal that we can give parents access to their student's account so that the parent can see what the student is doing on the computer as well. And we've had a lot of questions from parents about, how can I monitor my student's use? That's a great way. We haven't pushed that button yet, but it has the functionality to do that. And we're finding more and more functionality. The financial impact that it had to the site was $1,200 for the remainder of this year for half of a school year. It's something like $6 a student per year. And we have found that it is very useful, not just for the monitoring uses, but there are a number of other uses, the organizational purposes, helping students organize, as it alluded to in the video. A teacher can go through a student's Google Drive and find a document. A lot of times maybe it's not shared with the teacher correctly. Well, with Hapara, it doesn't need to be shared correctly. The teacher can go in, search around, oh, there it is, and grab it out of the student's Google Drive. So it's a very powerful tool, something that we are excited to use. I don't know if our student board member has any feedback on what's going on with the students, but it's definitely something that we have appreciated in the past couple of weeks with this pilot. So.
Yes, I'd love a report.
They're
from
waiting
our-
for you.
First for a change.
I'd just like to say, a few weeks ago when students first caught wind of this, there was mass panic. It was really funny actually, but in the recent days that it has been rolled out, my teachers, what they've been doing is one of my teachers, even when his students aren't direct physically in his class, he just goes and checks on them. And one of my friends in another class was on Netflix, a few others too. So he just closed all the tabs and sent them a message, get working on English or love Coach Mac, and it was good. My English teacher is actually using it really well. They're experts at it already. Everyone's on task. It's good, but everyone thinks it's a little bit scary,
I just have to say, before we push the button at home, I really, really think there needs to be a public discussion about that. The instant they're on campus, 100%. And I get that we own it, and I'm not even saying we shouldn't push the button. I'm saying we should have the public know we can push that button. It just, for me, provide them with the opportunity to come to us and tell us what they think and what they want to see and what they want to do. Because I guarantee you there are going to be parents who aren't happy with it. That doesn't mean we shouldn't do it, but we should hear about it and know. I personally will tell you that when my daughter's there, you have my permission to push that button. But that's my daughter.
I second that from,
For my daughter too? Yeah.
from my son.
But I really do think that that's, I'm not saying I'm not for it. I really want to hear from the public on what they think about it, that's all.
I think this is fabulous. The integration of technology is adding to teachers' workload, and this ability to keep it all organized is really going to help them and is going to inspire more teachers to get on board with the technology and say, okay, this isn't so bad. I can do this. This is great. And, you know, I guess it's the 2015 version of my dog ate my homework. My homework's in cyberspace somewhere, and the teacher can find it. I think this is great. I do think we have a responsibility to monitor what's going on our hardware. I think this is great, and I'm sure the teachers are really excited about it.
I have actually a question, if I may. The monitoring, and I know that there's going to be discussions before we do it. Is that sign-on specific or is it machine specific?
Say that again, the monitoring?
So I have my son has his Chromebook and his friend is over with his Chromebook. And so there's two Chromebooks and.
It's sign-on specific.
Okay.
Definitely. And what we found is that we're going to have to, alter our student handbook for a couple of reasons. The first is we do also allow bring your own device to school. And part of this is a classroom management tool. But if a student brings their own device and they don't have the extension downloaded onto their own device, we can't monitor what they're doing in class. And so we need to talk about, when you're on campus, and if they're not using the Chrome browser, if they're using Internet Explorer, we can't see. And so we need to, with technology and the way that it changes so quickly, we need to be nimble in the way we change our student handbook and the practices that we have at the school to reflect, okay, well, we saw this happening. We need to make sure that, when they're on campus and you're using your own device, that's fine, but you're on our campus and you're using our network, and therefore we need you to be signed into our domain so that we can monitor what you're doing during class. Additionally, we had students in the very first couple of days turning on their mobile hotspots on their phones and logging onto their own private network so that they could not be seen while they were off of
Do you realize they're better at this than us?
I would not know how to do that.
Yeah, so they were creating their own network in their pocket and staying off. But, and that would be another reason to push the button, because if a student were on campus using their own private network, we could still monitor them if they were signed into the domain.
I kind of read about Hapara because as a student representative and everyone's sort of concerned about it, I have to read up on it. But it's over the cloud, right? So the minute you push that button, it's the cloud. It can reach everywhere. It's
an extension. It is not a Google product. It's its own company. It's the great thing about Google, because it's open source. It's a code that's placed on top of the Google application universe that allows us to look into what's going on in the Google universe. And it's all connected to passwords and the teacher's password and the classes that teacher has. So a teacher can see all of their students all day. Like you said, Mr. McCloskey was looking at some of his health students who were in their English class during the day, because that teacher can see any kid in any one of their classes at any time when they're logged into the domain on our network.
I have two questions. So is it only what they've got open in Google Chrome that you can see? Or can you see other applications open at the same time?
Just Chrome.
Just Chrome. And to clarify then, when you say it is sign-in specific, that means if my daughter's logged onto my machine at my house through Google Chrome, you can see every tab I've got open on my computer.
If she is logged into Chrome.
She's logged into Chrome. And that's what I think. If you start talking about, now we're not suddenly on our machines anymore, and I do think you're going to find some parents who aren't going to be comfortable with that. Again,
I think
it's
I think
I'm
the
okay,
issue, well,
but-
and I think the issue is that people need to be very aware, because you get into, we're really teaching kids, how do you navigate the world that you will work in? Because think about when you go to work and you are on your work's network, and when you are working from home and you are logged into your work's network, regardless of whether you're on your own machine or not, logging into a domain means you are subject to all of the rules of that domain. And so if you are logged in and then you sit down after your daughter and you don't log her out and you're surfing whatever, then you are still, yeah.
But I need to
yeah.
get some clarification though, because what I'm hearing is on the site, in our domain, in our world, keep working with the product, keep using it to monitor. But when our ability to reach into the home, it becomes an interest or a desire that we need to hit the pause button, do community outreach and education, get community feedback, because people have a right to have a voice about our ability to reach into their home and how they feel about it. Is that what I'm hearing from the board?
Absolutely. I concur with that
Which
statement.
is why we have not pushed the button.
A lot of privacy issues and Big
Yes.
Brother issues come to mind.
Definitely.
But that being said, I totally want this for my workplace.
Yeah, no, I would love
yeah.
to have this. I'm actually going, wait, can I get it on the iPad? Because that would just be awesome right now.
And a lot of the things that were mentioned in the presentation that you mentioned as well, I find very, very interesting. One, that the teacher or whoever's giving a presentation can type in the URL for everybody, because I, for one, have spent
Half an hour trying to get the
half of
right.
a workshop trying to figure out, okay, what is wrong with that URL that everybody else is working and mine isn't?
Right. I think this is like all many other things, that the monitoring is one piece of the functionality. In fact, it's one tab among, I think, 8 different tabs that teachers can use. And under those 8 tabs, there are another 15 different functionalities that can be used in the system. So the monitoring is definitely an important piece, but the rest of the tools that can be used within Hapara are powerful for instructional purposes, for pushing out a URL, for finding and sharing documents, for setting up blogs and communicating with students and finding out the progress of students, being able to really see into and intervene with students who are struggling and extend information for students who are advanced. Really, that's what we should be focusing on. I know that community and students want to focus on the management piece of it. Really, what the management piece did was students are now aware that we can manage them, and so they just don't do it most of the time anymore. You still have the couple knuckleheads, but now they know, I better be doing my work, because they could look at me at any point. And Kevin and I have kind of made it a practice to sit down with it for 15 minutes a day and randomly choose a class to look at, and because then they know that it's not just their teachers, but we're looking out for you overall, Hey, we know you've got a low grade in this class. Maybe you ought not to be watching Netflix right now.
And in that regard, you fully have my support.
At school,
At school,
100%.
during the school day.
100%.
That's great. And it's great that we have that opportunity to do that.
And just the ability for a teacher to look at what the students are working on, and if a student is not doing it correctly or off in another direction where they're not supposed to be, the teacher can immediately address that and don't have to yell across the classroom. They can type a message into, that's not correct. You should be doing this or that.
Yeah, I agree. Well,
99% of this is fantastic, is what this comes down to.
Well, and I believe, our county and our district acceptable use agreement is very clear, stating that we maintain the right to manage and monitor our system, which we do, and it is done already. This is just a little bit more specific and gives our teachers the opportunity to participate in monitoring and being able to actually really closely monitor what's going on in classrooms. And we might want to just in our student handbook explicitly state, alongside the fact that we are monitoring, that here is one of the tools we use to monitor, so that people know.
If we're going to do this, I want something specific that each parent's going to sign that acknowledges that we can do this in the home.
If it goes into the home.
If it goes into the home, if we choose to go that route, this can't
that
just
they
be a
know,
paragraph in the handbook. This has got to be like part of the policy that says, oh, by the way, this can happen if you have
If
issues.
you're logged in, yeah.
Do we think the public really thinks that teachers have all this time and this interest to be sitting at home checking out the kids?
Yeah.
I mean, I can see this
Why
tool
not say we
being
won't do
used
it?
in the classroom. Yeah.
Well, you know, the flip side of that is if
My
we push.
point of bringing this up is just that people need to understand that's not going to be happening that often.
The
You know?
flip side of this is the reason why you have the functionality to do it at the home is the parent portal. It's not, teachers, I do not have time after school is over to sit and wonder what Johnny's doing at home, right? That's the parent's responsibility. You leave my doors, go do what you're going to do. If we don't turn it on for home, then that's fine. It's not going to affect us. We're not monitoring kids outside of the school day. What it would affect is we have had a lot of parents saying, I need help monitoring my child at home. What can you do for me? And I think we might have a large group of parents who say, please turn it on. I want, when my kid goes to their room to do homework, I want to check in on a random basis what they are doing online.
But I think that goes to Shane's point, which is you have a parent portal, but understand what you're signing up for. And by the way, you're signing up and you're going to sign this document.
Right.
And then when you do that, you open the door for these abilities, but understand what it is. The perception I think I hear coming from Shane is we don't want misinformation out there where people think, the omnipresent school is now, monitoring your bookkeeping.
We're going to hire someone to
And
work
that
8
has to
o'clock at
be
night
thought
to
through.
midnight to check out what the students are doing. And again, like you say, most parents may, I would love to have it just to be able to be, because like you say, you can open the door, but I've seen my kids, that screen flipping happens faster than you can imagine.
And is,
Right? See?
Yeah.
Ben, Alt tab is a beautiful
I
thing.
know,
Alt tab.
I know.
So I just,
If we were to do, parents had to sign permission for that. Do we have the ability to turn on for some parents and not for others?
I think it's an all or nothing.
Yeah, okay.
It's not, it's cheap.
That's
so.
what I would think, yeah.
I agree with the state. I agree with some of the state. I mean, if we're going to do something like that, there just has to be an education.
Right. People
not
have to
permission.
know.
Yep.
Education.
and
Yeah.
would there be a way to turn it on so that the parents could access it, but the school couldn't at home? Other than writing policy that says the school,
I don't think there's a way to do it.
if it's on, it's on. If you have access,
Yeah.
basically you're opening a socket to your computer, and if it's open to me, it's open to anybody.
Right. The difference is on our network or not on our network, and that's it. Again, it's only $6 a kid. This is cheap. It's a code that they wrote once, and they're making tons of money off of it now. So, because many districts, El Capitan, the school that we partner with, brought this on halfway through their first year, and it changed the demeanor of students immediately. So.
Thank you for the report.
Exciting stuff, thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, item C is the TB policy.
Staff report? No, just kidding. So I asked specifically that we address this a little bit more, just to get some clarification from my perspective and to try and discuss the options that we have or don't have with regards to the current TB policy. And when we discussed it last time, I brought up the fact that we have a fair number, I don't know about large is fair, I don't want to misstate things, a fair number of the public who are public health employees and are required, mandated by law every year to get a TB test. And I'm wondering why we can't accept that valid test, whether it was 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 9 months ago, as opposed to a questionnaire, making a parent go see a doctor again when they're going to have to go again in 3 months or 6 months and get tested again, rather than accepting that test. Because, if I read the policy correctly, we're going to accept the questionnaire for 4 years, but we won't accept the TB test for 12 months. Now, I may read the policy wrong, but I also, whether it's every year or not, a test that's clean every year, I would think we'd want to be able to accept something like that from the nurses, the doctors, the therapists, anyone who's working in a public health agency that has to do it. I don't know why we wouldn't want to accept that.
I understand your point. The only issue I see with it is we don't accept the fingerprinting or any other thing from any other agency, so that may be an issue. In other words, somebody can work at an outside school district in another county or whatever.
Yeah, but
and
To me, it's a different thing. You know, you're verifying a background check. You're getting the same note from the same doctor that's verified. I would see a TB test done 6 months ago as better than a questionnaire completed by a doctor 2 weeks ago.
So can I roll out the scenario and see if, because I tried to
Maybe I
understand.
misunderstand it.
I don't understand.
The scenario is this: I have an X-ray that's good to go for years, but the Ed code says that if I sign up at the school district, I've got to go and get this questionnaire filled out because that's the fastest means for approval. So I went to the doctor and got an X-ray. Now months later, I have to do this extra step. The Ed code asks that we do this within 60 days of the test. So yeah, we would have to do that. That would be the inconvenience piece. Then the X-ray and the paperwork with the doctors, with the second one, would allow the person to then be clear for 4 years. The extra step that I think is the issue here is if they already have it here, why do they have to do it here? And my understanding is that's because the Ed code puts a window of time that they have to meet it. That's the only reason why it's there. Did I get your scenario correct in my head? Because I was trying to figure out a way to explain this.
It's not the X-ray. It really comes down to, again, every medical health professional has to get an annual skin TB test. It's required. And if that is valid, it's not the X-ray test, but if that is good, why do we then have to send them back to get a questionnaire done by the doctor 6 months later?
So I think the issue is the Ed code says 60 days. So if I have 63 days
if
later.
we're mandated, that's all I need to know. If the
And I
code
understand
says
that's
we
what the Ed
have
code
to,
says.
okay, then the code is stupid and I will contact the legislature. Because that's just ridiculous. But if that's the code, that's all I need to know. If it's Ed code that we have to do it, if the test is not good within 60 days, they have to do the questionnaire and that's Ed code, I'm done. And
I'm a little confused here. So I had a chest X-ray last week. I have a note from my doctor that says Sharon Lampel had a chest X-ray. There's negative for TB, and I get hired by Lammersville, and I bring this note from my doctor. I'm good to go for 4 years. I don't have to go also and get the questionnaire.
As long as you apply within the 60 days.
Right, so if my chest X-ray was 4 months ago, I could bring that, I could get started, and then I have a certain amount of time to get the questionnaire?
No.
I missed something
It's the so if that test has happened and 60 days has passed, then in the eyes of the Ed code, you got to get clean. You got to go get another one.
So rather than going for another chest X-ray, which we
Let's
don't
go
want
get
to
the paperwork.
overdo the X-rays, my doctor can fill out that form because they know. I got it. Okay.
thank you. That was it. Because it's Ed code, that ends the conversation for me. That clarifies it.
And by the way, I don't think it's the only place that the Ed code might be a little.
All right, well,
What?
Yeah.
let's just
Welcome.
not go there. That's a night at the pub.
Yeah.
Okay, calendar, all the committee dates are listed, and our next governing board, we have a workshop on Wednesday, March 11th. Sorry, workshop's on the 11th. Our next board meeting is on March 4th.
I move we adjourn to closed session.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Pastor.
By the way, still in public comment. I'm asking for that right now.
What?
They're still in public comment.
Really? What time do they start?
They started at 6.